Hello and welcome to Cooking the Books with Heather. Today we're going to be working from Tanya Holland's Brown Sugar Kitchen Cookbook, and we're going to be making something that I'm super excited about because it just, all of the ingredients are things that I love. We're going to be making Bourbon-Hazelnut Truffles. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I've measured everything out. One step we're not going to have to do is to toast the hazelnuts. I had a hard time finding hazelnuts, and the only ones I could find were these dry roasted, unsalted ones. So they've already been sort of roasted, and we don't need to toast them after that. She doesn't say that I need to make sure all the skins are off, so I'm not going to worry about that. If you care, I hear that rubbing them in a dry kitchen towel will help get those skins off, but I don't think it's going to matter in here because we're going to end up mixing it with a bunch of chocolate, and so it's not going to be something that will mar the looks of it, which is really all that matters because it's not bitter or anything like some of the stuff around pecans. So we've got our food processor. I maybe should have used the smaller one, but that's okay. But we're combining the hazelnuts, and we've got some brown sugar. I weighed my hazelnuts because with nuts and they're all separate, you know, they're different sizes, and getting them, anyway. She does have a cup measurement, but I weighed them. So we're supposed to grind the sugar, the brown sugar and the hazelnuts until the nuts are uniformly pulverized. So I think that's good. They're going to be a little bit chunky. We don't want to go for a nut butter here, but okay, I'm going to call that good. So I'm just going to put it back into the bowl that the hazelnuts were in. We're all done with the food processor, so I'm going to put that away. So the next thing I need to do is to chop my chocolate so it's all ready when my cream is heated. So I'm not going to start heating that right now because chopping chocolate takes time. And honestly, I really don't like to chop chocolate. I'm going to put this out of my way so I don't knock it all over. I chose this is best quality semi-sweet or dark chocolate, and I'm supposed to finely chop it. I'm not super happy about chopping chocolate, but I did choose these thin bars. This is 70% cacao, dark chocolate, and it's a Lindt. So I'm gonna, and I measured this by weight as well because I really don't, I mean, that's what the measurement is. Ounces or grams. She has both in here. Okay, so this is why I don't like chopping chocolate. I've managed not to get it all over me, but my hands are full of chocolate, and I'm gonna probably lick this and then wash my hands because it's all over the place, and then probably clean this up some. I'll be right back. So now I'm ready to get my cream warm so that it can melt my chocolate. So I'm going to put it in a small, well, she says a medium saucepan. This is pretty medium. It's plenty big enough for all of this. And I'm going to put it on medium heat and bring it to a simmer. I'm going to watch it. Let's see. I'm going to use this because all of the stuff is going to go together anyway, and there's no reason to dirty another spatula. So I'm going to put this in here. I'm going to put it over medium heat, and we're going to bring it to a simmer, and I'm going to watch it like a hawk because this will boil over because it is milk based. Yeah, medium heat. I'll let you know how long it takes. So this just started to simmer, and it says to put the chocolate in with the cream, but I'm going to put the cream in with the chocolate because it will be easier to whisk in this bowl than it will be in this pan. So now I've put it onto a hot pad just so the granite countertop doesn't steal all the heat. So now we need to let this sit for 2 minutes undisturbed. So this has been sitting for about 2 minutes, and now I'm supposed to whisk this. I only have my large whisk, but that's okay. Whisk it until the chocolate is entirely melted. It's all incorporated. So there's that. And now I just need to add the bourbon. I'm using Larceny, which is one of my favorite flavors. My favorite bourbons, it's not a flavor bourbon, but you know, every bourbon has a slightly different flavor. And I like this one. It doesn't say to whisk this in, so it just says to stir. So we're adding the bourbon and our hazelnuts and brown sugar mixture and stir it all up. Okay, so this is all stirred up. Looks pretty good to me. I now just need to cover this with plastic wrap, put it in the refrigerator until it is entirely cold, fully chilled, about 3 hours. So we'll see you in about 3 hours. So my truffle mixture, my chocolate and hazelnuts and all of that has been in the refrigerator for a little over 3 hours. And now I'm gonna use a melon baller. She says you can use a teaspoon and your hands. We're supposed to form it into small balls. So I'm not gonna use the tiny one. I'm gonna use the medium. Well, this is larger than my scooper, the smallest scooper I have. So I'm gonna try and form this into kind of a ball. I'm not very good at this, but I might have to use my hands, and I'm not sure it will even come out very well. Yep, this is not very easy. My hands are gonna be chocolatey. So this is supposed to make 24. I don't know what size that is, but it's okay for them to be a little bit rough. And it's definitely got to be okay for everything to be covered in chocolate when I'm done, because that is what's going to happen. I'm going to wash my hands, or I'm going to have my husband get me another tool. Yeah, the smallest one. I think that's the smallest one. So this is much larger than that, but at least I can pop it out. So that's much larger. I don't know, we'll see. These are messy as all get out, and I made 22, so probably the size is somewhere in between this and this. I'm gonna go wash my hands, and then I'm going to cover this loosely with plastic wrap, and it has to sit in the fridge for about an hour before we finish them up. It's been about an hour, and I've set out some of these little paper cups, candy cups. I don't know what they're called, but they're like mini muffin cups. And we're about to finish our truffles, and we're going to coat them in cocoa powder. So this is just the unsweetened cocoa powder, the same stuff I used for the hot chocolate, which I'll link up here, which is great. You're supposed to measure it. I'm not going to because the measurer that I'm supposed to use is in the dishwasher. It doesn't really matter because we're not going to use all of it as long as I have enough. And so we're sifting it. I've got a small sieve and I'm just going to make sure it all goes through there so we don't get clumps on our truffles. There we go. If I need more, I can always add more. So, can you close that up for me? Okay, I'm gonna get a little fork. So I'm just trying not to get my hands too dirty. So I'm going to start with the larger ones and just a couple at a time, put them in here and roll them around. And this will keep your hands from getting super messy. And then I'm gonna put them in these little muffin cups and that will help keep them from sticking together. So yeah, I wish they were a little bit smaller, but you know, it is what it is. And that one doesn't want to roll. So she says to serve these at room temperature, but to keep them longer, you can store them in an airtight container in the refrigerator for about a week, she says. So I guess if you want, when you want to eat them, you might want to take them out of the refrigerator for a little while. The lid will still close. So I'm going to put these in the refrigerator for later, and I'm going to go ahead and coat these smaller ones, and we will leave these out at room temperature and try them a little bit later and let you know what we think. On this episode of Cooking the Books with Heather, you watched me make bourbon hazelnut truffles and get my hands full of chocolate. And now there's some cocoa on my shirt and all over us. But I really enjoyed these. They taste very much like the chocolate that you use. So choose a chocolate that you like. I would not go milk chocolate. Might be a little soft. But the darkest chocolate that you like, please feel free to use that. I enjoyed that the hazelnuts give it a little bit of texture. So they're tiny, but you still feel like you kind of have to chew them a little bit. But they melt nicely in your mouth, and they're delicious truffles. Taste a little bit like hazelnut, a little bit like bourbon. There's not a whole lot in the recipe, so you know, I let my daughter have one. It was fine. My son actually refused to eat them, but she liked it. She said it tasted a little bit like banana, which maybe was bourbon flavor coming through for, you know, somebody who doesn't drink bourbon and doesn't like bananas. So maybe that's what that was. But we really enjoyed them, and they're not that difficult. They're a little messy. Do require a food processor of some sort to be able to get those nuts small enough. But other than that, it doesn't require a whole lot of special equipment. And it just takes some time to let it harden before you can actually, you know, form it into balls. It was a little difficult to do that. And I think I'd need to come up with something different to do that next time, because I didn't enjoy either of the ways that I did. So if I plan to make these again, I might look up some other techniques about how to make them balls of truffle. But it was fine. They're a little rustic. It's fine. If you enjoyed watching me make this, give me a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and come back and watch me make something else next week.